This is episode 4 with special guest, Dr. Darrell Wolfe. Welcome to My Kid Cures Cancer. My name is Ryan Sternagel, former regular guy turned dadcologist, cancer coach, and health advocate. Each week we'll talk to a new expert on a particular aspect of beating cancer or human optimization to bring you one step closer on your path to true health. Thanks for spending some time with us today. Now let's dive into this valuable, life-saving information which you're not going to hear about in a mainstream hospital. Well, friends, sometimes it seems like they get you everywhere you turn. When you walk into a doctor's office, he's all too happy to take advantage of your insurance and send you on your way with a list of prescriptions to fill, all with their own side effects that will all likely require more prescriptions. Or you can turn to the natural side of things and start browsing the internet and talk to a couple naturopaths and quickly wind up with a list of a couple dozen must-have supplements that you probably can't afford. And while either option might provide you with some temporary relief, neither will reverse the core problem, let alone set you up for a lifetime of good health. In stark contrast to this treatment paradigm is the saying we've all heard about giving a man a fish and feeding him for a day, or teaching that man to fish and feeding him for a lifetime, and that is exactly what today's guest is all about. Setting you up for catch after catch of good health, Dr. Darrell Wolfe, AC, PhD, DNM, has 35 years experience in natural medicine and is known as the Doc of Detox. Dr. Wolfe's best-selling book, Healthy to 100, is the foundation from which he created his one-of-a-kind Healthy to 100 community, where he hosts his weekly webinars and teleconferences to awaken the world with life-saving techniques and strategies. Dr. Wolfe has a weekly international radio show called Doc Star Radio, where he trains his listeners how to master their health, heal the body, and awaken their mind. He is also the director of the prestigious International Training Institute of Health, where he teaches and certifies his unique breakthrough training courses to all sectors of the public and the professional health community. Dr. Wolfe's clinic and retreat are based in Kelowna, BC, Canada, where he treats, teaches, and consults patients locally and globally. Dr. Wolfe was a major speaker in the acclaimed Truth About Cancer documentary series seen around the world by 10 million people. Dr. Wolfe has been presented with the Order of Excellence Award by the World Organization of Natural Medicine. His mission is to teach the world how to master their health, heal the body, and awaken their mind. And this was quite the unique interview, everybody. I just got done going through it, and the first thing I said to myself when I got done was, wow, this was not like what I hear every day on health podcasts, and I do listen to quite a few health podcasts. But I guess that's what happens when you have a show just about cancer and you have the Doc of Detox on, because he is certainly not your everyday doctor. We talked a lot about this notion that all of us need to be the masters of our own body rather than continually going to these practitioners who are trained to treat. Otherwise, we're just always going to be needing treatment of some sort. And this goes for the natural side just as much as the conventional side. And I think this is more and more important to me every time I think about it. So really listen up on that. Diving even deeper, Dr. Wolfe spent a lot of time on the notion that self-love comes before all else as the only prerequisite to true healing, and expanding out from that how pure selflessness, which we hear so much good stuff about these days, can actually really be a fast track to disease. We talked about how cancer clinics can be valuable, but the only thing that comes home with you is your belief system, and without a good one, the rest of it will not have any sort of lasting effect, so that really needs to be in line. And even how belief systems tie into childhood cancer and how to cultivate the best possible systems within our families. We got deep into how all this ties back into frequency and how frequency ties into the physical and measurable indicators of health. Speaking of frequency, we got into two of Dr. Wolfe's signature assertions on cancer, that cancer is a fungus and cancer is a frequency. And we even managed to throw a nice geek out session on structured water in there. That being said, I'm so glad you stopped by My Kid Cures Cancer, where it's our goal to bring all sides of the discussion on how to heal cancer and be truly healthy to the same table to give you one place to tune in for the most well-rounded perspective possible. We'll get to Dr. Wolfe's interview momentarily, but before we do, just a few things to go over. Starting with the vital disclaimer that the information you hear on this show is for informational purposes only and is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Before we go any further, bonus points to anyone who paid attention last week and is really confused right now because I said at the end of the episode with the interview with Robert Scott Bell that we were going to be hearing from Dr. Veronique Tessanier this week. While I do have a completed interview with Dr. V in the bag, it was my rookie mistake not to ask the producer, aka my wife, aka Teddy, if she had imported it and edited it and all that good stuff, and apparently she has not. And more so, even told me that it was Dr. Wolfe's episode that she had ready to go. So my apologies to Teddy and all of you. And I will now cautiously say that once again, we'll be hearing from Dr. V next week. All right, this week's question from our friends comes from Piers in the comments section of our article on the Budwig diet on the website, which is actually one of our most read articles. If you're interested in taking a look, you can find that at mykidcurescancer.com/Budwig-diet. And Budwig is spelled Budwig. Piers writes, I cannot understand if the Budwig protocol really does cure cancer, why the various medical associations say there is no scientific evidence that it works. Why can't a double-blind study be done that satisfies the medical associations, and then we will all know whether it is really a cure or psychological hocus pocus. And Ken also seconded this question, saying he'd like to hear why the medical world hasn't done studies as well. Well, Ken and Piers, it sure would be nice if this kind of thing was what the medical community was putting their energy into, wouldn't it? And just to make one thing clear up front, we would never say anywhere near that Budwig could cure cancer on its own. We always encourage a well-balanced protocol and not to put too much stock in any one thing. That being said, with regard to why a double-blind study isn't done, what you have to ask yourself is who stands to benefit, who stands to make money off of proving its efficacy, especially with something like Budwig, which is just cottage cheese and flax oil of all things. Double-blind studies, to my understanding, can cost into the millions. So really the only thing that gets studied this way are drugs that can be patented and profited from so the drug company can see a return on their investment. And also, profit motive aside, when you think about it, I'm not sure how they would actually manage to do a double-blind study when it comes to something like a food you eat, as the whole idea behind a double-blind study is that neither the doctor nor the patient know whether they're getting the real thing or their placebo. And I'm pretty sure people are going to know whether they're eating cottage cheese and flax oil or a cheeseburger. And that aside, when you get into the issues of compliance and how do you really know people are eating what they say they are and so on, it becomes difficult. So for Budwig in particular, we're left with some really good theory and a whole ton of testimonial. And I do put a little more weight behind the testimonial for Budwig than I do even for a lot of the other natural stuff because, again, no one really stands to make any money off of it. Okay, two big announcements for the week. The first is that as I record this on the night of the 7th day in existence, this podcast, My Kid Cures Cancer, is sitting at just over 2,600 downloads on iTunes for the week. This is absolutely mind-blowing. I was going to be happy if we hit 100 or maybe even 200. So all I can say is thank you all so much for making the start of this show a success. And it is here for you, and I'm just honored that the response has been so great. And I'm especially grateful for those of you who have taken the time to leave us such nice reviews on iTunes, as these are the absolute most helpful thing you can do to help this show reach those that need it. The other big announcement for the week is 10 things you need to know if your child has been diagnosed with cancer. This is a document I've put a lot of time into, and I am really excited about making available, and I hope you all do hop over to the site, mykidcurescancer.com, and get it. It's just like it sounds. If you're a parent dealing with a cancer diagnosis for your child, these are 10 things that I wish to God that someone had told me from day one. In fact, that really was my motivation behind creating it, is just hearing people saying they wish they knew the same stuff sooner, over and over again. So I really did my best to try to put it all into one place, and this is absolutely free, I should mention. This is also so new, in fact, that I doubt the verbiage will even be up on the homepage when this podcast first airs. Up until now, when you go to the homepage on the site, we say plug in your email address and we'll send you the 5 things we did first, which is a document about some of the things we did post-diagnosis that really served us well. That is going away for a little while for some retooling, and it'll be back in some form or another soon enough, better than ever. But for now, I'm really excited about the 10 things you need to know if your child has been diagnosed with cancer. So if you go to the site and you still see stuff about the 5 things we did, just enter your email, and then when you get the confirmation email, just respond to it and make sure to let us know that you would like the 10 things in addition to the 5. If you're a cancer parent, I implore you to get it, and also really anyone going through cancer for that matter, especially the integrative, as there's a lot of stuff in there that really just everyone needs to know, not just parents. All right, I'm going to keep my little tactical tip pretty short today as I spent a lot of time on the other stuff, but I do want to make you aware, if you didn't already know, that at least in a substantial portion of the world, it is summer right now, and while supplementing with vitamin D is a whole lot better than nothing, there's a lot of research as well that says it's still not as good as the real thing, which your body produces from exposure to the sun. So with everything you're doing, just please ask yourself if you could be doing it outside. If the answer is yes, figure out a way to get out there. If the answer is an absolute no, ask yourself honestly if whatever that thing you're doing is more important than something outside. Speaking of being a week old, our Patreon account is also now a week old, and we're still looking for that very special person to kick off this road to better content. Again, this is how you can vote with your dollars to support our mission to continually bring you more and always better content. If you just pledge the equivalent of one of Ryder's favorite sprouted snack bars every month that he makes us buy every time we go to Whole Foods, this will go a long ways to helping us buy better equipment, go to more conferences, to get more expert guests to bring you, and so on. And you can find all the details for that at mykidcurescancer.com/crowd sponsor, and crowd sponsor is all one word. Okay, and just to let you know, if you found us on YouTube, you can take this on the road by downloading the show on iTunes. And FYI, we are working on getting onto Stitcher as well, but they're having some major technical issues with getting new shows onto the platform. And vice versa, if you're a podcast listener, do check out the YouTube channel where we post videos of all these interviews, plus a whole lot more, to put it briefly. And of course, the best way to make sure you don't miss out on any content is to sign up for our weekly newsletter, and you can do that right on the homepage at mykidcurescancer.com. All right, with that, let's get to the interview with the Doc of Detox himself, Dr. Darrell Wolfe. This certainly was a real barn burner, and I really think you're going to get something very valuable out of it, and it really tested my burgeoning skills as an interviewer as well. No matter what the question, Dr. Wolfe has a way of answering it on a much deeper level than you were expecting. You'll see what I mean, so hopefully I did a satisfactory job of keeping up. Darrell, thanks for coming on. How are you?
Hey, listen, I'm doing great, and thank you, Ryan. It's a pleasure to be here. It really is, and it's an honor to be here with you, my friend.
Oh, I'm really glad we could do it. I was just telling somebody the other day that when I was reading your book, I literally had to restrain myself in the chair from not getting up and, just going and making a green smoothie or a juice or something, because I consume a lot of health information, but two things about your book were different that I really liked. One is you really broke down to a greater detail and level of clarity exactly what goes wrong with your body when you don't treat it well. I think, a lot of people have a tendency to maybe spend a chapter or two on here's what not to do, but now let's, just spend another 10, 20 chapters on everything to eat and so on and so forth. But you really hammered it in exactly what is going on in the body when you don't treat it well. And I really appreciated that about the book.
Well, you said it right there, when you don't treat it well. So we need to train people so that they can treat their own bodies, because if we continually go to those who are trained to be treated, then we'll always be going from treatment to treatment. And that's where, as individuals, we need to learn to get trained. And listen, this is something that I'm going to do for the rest of my life, is to teach people that they need to become the masters of their body, and they've got to get to the point where they don't need me or anybody else. And it's not like we're going to be able to go and do that for the whole world, but if we actually did that, the whole world would change.
Yeah, and it's going to take quite the paradigm shift, which I suppose is the other thing I really liked about your book, and I've heard the concept before talked about with some importance, but again, not the way you really laid it out, is this whole concept of self-love and loving yourself enough to be able to figure it out, be able to get the training and so on and so forth, that, you know, I don't know that people are ready for until they really master that concept. And for me, it was huge, really huge for me personally, because, you know, I've spent the last 2.5 years now, running myself into the ground, just quite literally, you know, taking care of my son, Ryder, and we eat organic and all that, and then the whole family does not take in toxins or anything like that. But I mean, that is really where it stopped for, you know, any sort of care I was taking for myself. And it was really only after reading your book that I kind of circled back and said, hey, you need to care about yourself too, Ryan, and that's going to be the best for Ryder, obviously. So I really appreciated that.
Well, let's talk about the average father and their son has cancer. Well, right off the bat, the average father isn't manned to handle that on a nutritional level. He's got to go and get educated really fast, which most people would not be like you. So kudos to you. You know, you're a superstar for that, and I honor you for that. But where the rubber really hits the road on this thing is that if Ryan already was a master of self-love and his heart was filled up, then Ryan wouldn't have went through a couple of years of beating himself up for not knowing the answers. Because when you learn to self-love and fill your heart up, you will not disrespect yourself, and you will not take it on as it was because you don't know better. Your son is suffering. And trust me, there was nights, I guarantee you, that if you weren't crying, you were laying there thinking about how you failed your son. And the only way that happened is because you had an empty heart. And your son filled up most of your heart with love, along with your wife, took up most of your heart, and you have them filling your heart up. And with the idea that now your son has cancer and you might lose him, that would leave you with an empty, broken heart, which means if you didn't know how to self-love properly at that point or in the future, your life is going to suck. Because until we self-love, we look at our children and our family to come in like a gas station and fill our heart up every day. And if they're not feeling good or they're having a tantrum and they pull away their love, then that hurts us, and then we hurt them, and then sounds like everybody else's family, eh, Ryan?
What was that saying about what is it? You're only as happy as your least happy kid?
Yeah, and well, you know, that's like, well, the other thing too is when people come to me, because I do a lot of emotional training for couples before marriage, and those even that are like, I had a couple come for emotional training and to also learn how to do the deep tissue on each other. They're in their 70s. And you know what they noticed? And by the time they were here 5 days, at the beginning, I asked them the same question, and they said, yeah, we know what that is. By the 5th day, they said, she started breaking down and saying, you know what? I don't even know what self-love looks like. Even just you saying it, I've been lying to you all week, because even saying self-love, I feel like I was committing a crime.
Crime in the sense of not being truthful?
Ryan, don't be self-centered. Don't ever think about yourself, dude. And the other thing, don't be selfish. Don't be selfish enough to think of your needs first. Make sure that you look after everybody else so that you totally destroy yourself. And do you know why you're going to do that? Because you want to show your family you love them so much that you're going to suffer, or maybe even get cancer because you love them so much. You won't look after yourself. You'll just climb up there and you'll just bleed.
Yeah, no, I did kind of wear that as a badge of honor for a while. You know.
Yeah, but society teaches you that.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
If you clearly want to understand society and you want to clearly understand cancer, then you've got to look at the majority of the population. And the majority of the population have all herd mentality. They work from the left side of their brain, which is known as the ox side. They don't work from the right side, which is the lion side, which is the creative side. the one where you would put a little mini you on your shoulder and keep watching you instead of going around judging everybody else and getting caught up in everybody else's crap. So if you actually put a little mini you on your shoulder and you were watching what you were thinking and watching what you were saying to people, and you were observing yourself, not judging yourself, that's how you break away from the herd. But we're not going to do that. Why? Because we're broken and we need love. Because at the beginning, when you come here, you're like a little child of God. Everybody wants to kiss the baby. The baby smells sweet. The baby's beautiful, the energy and everything. And then when the baby starts walking, it starts acting like mommy and daddy. And that's when we start spanking it, because we don't want the baby to act like us. And we don't even know the baby's act. Well, who else would the baby be acting like?
Well, that's what I always say about children's eating habits. It's not really as hard as a lot of people make it out to be. You just have to set the example.
Well, you don't put it in the cart. That would be smart.
Yeah, that would.
That's where it starts,
yeah,
right?
The kid only knows the reality that you present to it. Only knows the food options that you give it.
I mean, when's the last time a 6-year-old said, "Hey, mommy, can I have the Visa? I got to go down to the store."
Yeah, but that I've heard you talk about that a couple times. The concept of having a little mini you on your shoulder, and I've been thinking about that in kind of a roundabout way myself lately. And I've almost been thinking about it more in the context of, if life were a game and I was controlling myself. If I was playing, how do I say that? If I was playing, like The Sims.
Oh, Ryan, 1 second. Life is a game, buddy. So let's start that over again.
Lighten up a little bit, right?
Yeah. No, first of all, what I need you to say is this. Now that I understand that life is a game and I am the creator of this game because I was created by my creator to create. Now that I'm awake and I'm not unconscious and I know that everything I have in my life was created by me, and I might have created it even on some other plane, but I created it. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's that realization that you are responsible for creating your reality, and more or less. And then what do you want to do with that reality, and what do you want to create, and how do you set yourself up to win whatever winning looks like for you?
Well, then when we want to talk about your map of reality, what does your map of reality look like? I tell somebody right now, somebody comes into me and they go, "You don't understand my life. My life is hell." And I go, "Well, yeah, it is, but what do you really want?" And then I'll say, we want to get you to focus on what you really want. See, the only reason why people are actually truly miserable or even sick is they focus on the sickness. They focus on the misery. And I'm telling you, Ryan, you got to get this. If nobody else gets this, that's it right there. People that are long-term sick patients focus on the sickness. Now, does that make them a bad person? No. It's a bad belief system. Where did they get it from? They got it from their peers. They got it from their family. So let me tell you something. Your belief systems are either going to make you or they're going to break you into pieces. And guess what? We are not cursed by God. It is not a genetic thing. This is not the way I was born. So we got to get rid of all the excuses. There are no excuses anymore. You know what? Every couple that comes here or people that come here for my trainings, they get it within hours. What part do what they get in hours is that, guess what? Ryan, me and you came from the same place. We're going to return to the same place. The only thing that makes me and you different is that you had different parents, went to a different church, went to a different school. And then because of those differences, when you saw things happen in the world, you process them differently than I do. We could have 10 people in this room, Ryan, and the same dramatic thing's going to happen. One guy's going to do heroin. Next guy's going to consume himself with alcohol. The next guy's going to jump off a cliff. The other guy's just going to beat himself up and live with regret for the rest of his life. Or it could be me, and I'll go, what can I learn from this? I'm gonna stay with my breath. I'm going to smile inside myself and stay with my breath. And I'm going to calm down, and then I'll take action so I don't make a mess. Now, where does it say, Ryan, that when your family suffers or when things go wrong and there's a trauma, that you should suffer and that's going to help everybody out?
Just seems like what you're supposed to do.
Okay, well then fine. I guess my work is done here.
But no, Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I was just listening to an interview with JJ Virgin the other day, talking about when her son was, he got hit by a car, hit and run. He was in the hospital with a coma, and it sounds like she didn't really realize what she was doing at the time as far as the self-love aspect is concerned, but she realized that she needed to be on her game to best care for her son. And so she was, literally, getting all the sleep she needed, doing burst training, sprints up the stairs of the hospital, and just keeping herself in peak shape. And man, I just, after listening to that, it's exactly what I would tell people to do today, and wish I did more for myself. But hopefully we can spread that message a little bit today.
Well, I'm just going to tell you that, and I mean this in the best way, but there's organizations, there's also religions, there's also schools, there's corporations, and they're all doing that. They all work towards you dishonoring yourself. Because you've got to remember that if you actually truly loved yourself and filled your heart up first, and you honored yourself, how many things would you need from society? You can't have enough money to fill an empty heart, and you will never have enough money to heal your body. Let me tell you, you go to Mexico, you go everywhere. Do you know how many people go to Mexico and spend anywhere from $10,000 to $50,000, and then they come to our clinic and they spend a couple thousand, and then they finally learn what a perfect day is and how to love yourself, feed yourself, nourish yourself, and how you stop pushing your family's buttons so that they can push your buttons so that you can all keep the family curse going. Even when the big issue here for many people too is that there's so much cancer in people's families. And you have to understand that we have been herded like cattle. What's the difference between animals and people, Ryan?
I would say self-awareness and divine.
There's one main one, and that's that people are supposed to think. We have the ability to think, but we don't. You have to understand that these corporations and these families that have been controlling the world have been controlling it for a few hundred years. They've studied us like lab rats. You have to understand that if your family was worth hundreds of trillions of dollars, these people feel like they're gods and that they can step on us like ants, right? Okay. And ants stands for allowing negative thoughts. That's what ants are. Okay. Like, so they stomp on us like ants, and they control us like ants, and they make us work like ants. Ants only work until they die. Life's hard, right, Ryan? It's hard out there. It's hard to make a living. We got to take this serious. I don't take anything serious. Everything is a game to me, because that's when you win. Because if you stay, unless you stay in joy, then you're a slave. And I meet maybe 1 out of 10,000 people that even know what joy is. Did you know that the average person has 2 to 3% feeling of joy a day maximum? Now that is all about belief systems. So that's why when somebody gets cancer, the family is so brainwashed and their belief systems are so negative that's why it's so easy for them to opt into chemotherapy and radiation. And that's why the success is so low. I mean, you give me a person that has stage 3, 4 cancer, and I won't even change their diet. But if I change their belief systems, then you've put a rocket ship on your back. And then if we bring in some supplementation, and I'm not talking about 2 bags full. I've got so many colleagues that are still into this, 14, 15 different supplements, taking 130 supplements a day. Listen, it doesn't matter. We play the same game in the natural health industry as the medical system does. And most of the natural health therapies out there are watered down. And people, you know what? They don't think. They go to a therapist, then they got to go back 2 or 3 months later or 6 months later for the same problem. Well, it's because it was never looked at. When you go to a chiropractor, and I'm not putting them down, but if you're continually going, then it can't be working.
Yeah, if you still need it.
Yeah, so what we can do is we can actually show people how to get rid of the scar tissue, how to align their body, how to increase their energy, how to change their belief systems. You know, I can show and do a process that takes 33 days and through my Braveheart training. And I'm going to tell you something. We give a money-back guarantee. Why can we do that? Because if you follow through on this 33 days, and it's a very easy program. Let me put it to you this way. I have a program that would ask you to love yourself from the minute you get up till you go to bed, and that's all you have to do. And if you can do that for 33 days, you can change your whole life, and you will never, ever be upset for more than 30 seconds at a time. I mean, and you're going to go, well, come on, 30 seconds, then I'm not showing that I really care. Well, if everybody got their act together and didn't allow themselves to go for 3 days or 3 weeks or 3 months, or like I said, everybody's got their own measurement. You could do the same thing as someone else, and you might say, okay, well, when I do that, I need to suffer for an hour. And then Frida goes, well, I need to suffer for 5 hours. And then Jim goes, I will never let myself off the hook for that. Now me, I'm not going to put myself on the hook.
Yeah, no, if you could, man, just thinking about that, if you could manage to love yourself consistently for 33 days all day, that would probably lead to some pretty powerful breakthroughs.
Oh, wait a minute though. But when I'm saying it, how ridiculous is that? There's a couple going through training with me right now. And do you know what their project was last night when they left? And I'm going to be meeting with them in just a few minutes. You know what their project was? Your homework right now, because you say that you want to stay together and that you love each other and that you want to help him with his health and you want to work together on that. So they're coming back with a report and they have to monitor it and tell me what sets them off, how it looks like. So when we get together right now for the next 3 hours, we're going to be going over how that 24 hours of just loving each other went. And we're going to see how well they did. Now, you can only love for the amount anyone else for the amount of love you have for yourself. And if you love someone more, it's coming from a needy love, desperate.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and it almost seems like like you said, the more love you can cultivate for yourself, the more love you're going to have to spread around to others.
Well, did you ever see any pictures of Jesus? Did you see the light around him? Well, where did the light come from? It wasn't from ever-ready batteries.
From within, I suppose.
That's right. And how did he create that? Love for himself, which then shone as light for the world.
I like that. I like that a lot. Take it back just a little bit.
All right.
I've heard you say a couple references to the clinics being unnecessary, and I don't know that I've heard you call them unnecessary, but...
I would never say that. Never say that. They are necessary, but what's more necessary is to send people home knowing how to love themselves and to create the perfect day in every way.
Yes. So in your mind, I mean, the IV vitamin C, the hyperbaric UV blood radiation, so on and so forth. I mean, that all does have a place in cancer treatment.
Absolutely. But the thing is that it's not coming home with you.
Yeah.
And what's your support system going to be? I don't know. I was told that love is the highest vibration of anything on this planet. So I think I'd like to have some love intravenous every day. And the other thing is, why don't I just gently cleanse every day and be gentle with myself and do gentle baby steps every day? Why should I pile it up and become an emergency 911 and then go give these guys my mortgage?
Yeah, another concept I did not have before reading your book, but do now, is the gentle daily cleanse. I mean, we do, and I've taken that. I still haven't tried your tea yet. I got to get some of that tea, but just, anything, the apple cider vinegar and lemon water, something like that. Just anything to kind of just, what am I doing to clean out my insides today in a gentle way?
Can we back it up a little bit?
Yeah.
You're only going to be able to stick to a gentle, daily, loving routine depending on how much self-love you have for yourself. Because if you only fill yourself up with 10% of love for yourself, then there's a 90% chance that you're going to fall on your face every bloody day, or your new program is only going to last for a day or two, because guess what? You're not worthy.
Yeah, and I guess on that note, I still have a little ways to go myself, because there are days that I don't do anything to cleanse.
Well, it's not it, but it's not just about the cleanse. It's about the nourish.
Yeah.
Are you giving yourself enough water? Are you giving yourself enough live foods? And every time that you see your wife and you walk by her, do you walk by her, or do you stroke your hands or your fingers across her back? Every time you walk past your child, even if you're in a hurry for work, do you just take your hand and mess his hair? So this is it. The gentle baby steps, the touch. Don't ever walk past a family member without touching them. And the next time that a family member or your child has a tantrum, and you don't care what that tantrum is about, there's nothing to discuss there. You just go over to him and you hug him and tell him that you love him. And then the next time that your wife has a tantrum or she's really irritated with you, just tell her you love her and hug her. Don't react. If she tells you you're a good for nothing bum, just say, you know what, you're probably right, but I just want to hug you right now. And let love just keep on taking over, because love will wipe away these dysfunctional beliefs that you got from your parents, she got from her parents, and you got from society.
Yeah, it certainly does seem to be the answer to things whenever you can step back and just focus on that instead of reacting, which, I've certainly noticed that in my own life. That's for sure.
When I started this stuff, my family used to call me Jesus and Buddha, and, because they wanted to because I was breaking away from the herd, right?
Yeah.
And then my daughters would say that I didn't care. Oh, you have no feelings. You don't even care, because a family that suffers together is a true family. So I didn't buy into the suffering anymore. So now today, as years have gone by, now my children are doing the exact same thing that I'm doing, because they realized that you have to love yourself first. And if you don't, then you play love ransom with your family all the time. And that we don't fall out of love with our wives or our husbands after 10, 15 years. We just let our dysfunctional belief systems actually show their ugly heads, and we cut ourselves off of love.
Somewhere in there you mentioned frequency, which is another topic that interests me to no end, that I still don't really fully understand. And I know in your book you make reference to emotions being a frequency, and you also make reference to cancer as having its own frequency. How does frequency tie into all this, emotions and cancer? And end of question.
Well, the majority of all the cancer out there its actual foundational root for being caused is dysfunctional belief systems, which cause inability to process your emotions. So, did you ever try to get that choking feeling in you, or when you have a disagreement, or you have a frustration or a fear? Where does it hurt in your body? In your shoulder, in your stomach? Does it hurt in your head? Where does it hurt? And every time that the bigger the problem and the less you deal with it, the more pain you suffer. So wouldn't you say that you're creating an acidic situation from an emotion? And did you know that you can actually just say the word love and think love and your pH comes up in your body? Did you know that? Did you know that people that are depressed, they can't do enough worm cleanses because that's where worms want to live, is in a depressed person, right? And then depressed people, they have a lower frequency in their body, and that's why they gravitate to lower frequency foods. And people who really don't care or love for themselves will also go to that. So we already know through science that we are able to turn cancer on and turn cancer off with a frequency. We also know that the sun is a frequency. We also know that frequencies are carried through the water we drink. That's why structured water is the preferred water for erasing negative frequencies and bringing in positive frequencies. We already know that if your wife is in a really bad mood, you'll have no energy and want to go to bed early. We'll know that when your wife is in a really good mood, you'll have energy and you still might want to go to bed early. I don't know. Understand something. Everything is frequency. You know, when we die, our bodies, they decompose. Our energy never dies. It just changes form. We never die. And that is all about the energy. And whether you believe this or not, Ryan, every supplement, everything you drink leaves the body, and the only thing that actually stays in the body is the frequency. So this is why when people say to me, I need this nutrition, I need that nutrition, they come in and they bring like 15 bottles that Naturopath sold them. Sure, I carry products, but did you know that I only have I have 4 shelves of product, and I treat everything, and I treat it effectively. So we'll go through the products, but you have to understand that if everything boils down to frequencies within the body, let's use very high healing products and do different types of programs that create high frequency in the body. That's it right there. I mean, if you don't believe in frequency, then you don't believe in, if I tell you I love you, that's, well, maybe not you, but if I tell somebody I love them, they're going to feel more energy. If I tell them I don't love them anymore, they're not going to feel energy. So it's all about frequency. Everything is about frequency. A cell, okay, so when you get the wrong frequency in your gut, good bacteria go to bad bacteria. Bad bacteria cause moody people. They cause emotional problems. When you've got emotional problems, you also turn your good bacteria to bad bacteria. So everything works together. So everything is about frequency. There is nothing that's not about frequency.
And where does light tie into the concept of frequency? Because I've also heard, on the one hand, you hear we're all energy, and then that energy is.
Wait a minute, but when they say energy, they mean frequency. So,
yes. But then I also hear light, and it kind of used in the same way.
Well, okay.
Trying to clarify some terms for everyone and for myself.
Okay, well, there's frequencies within the light, and light is also a frequency. So there can be many different frequencies in light. Why? Because when you give light a color, did you look at the sun? That's called full spectrum. Then when you look at that's got all the colors there. That's why when it rains, you see a rainbow. You see all those colors?
Yep.
Those are all the colors of the rainbow. That's full spectrum.
Yeah.
right? Okay. So light, well, okay, let's put it this way. Not a lot of light gets into a cave, right?
It's pretty dark in there usually.
Well, that's why there's a lot of mold and fungus. So soon as you don't lighten up and you don't bring things with light in them, you get full of fungus and mold. And what is cancer? It's a fungus.
So when you say cancer is a fungus,
Yeah.
in my mind, every natural or alternative theory, if you want to call that, in cancer usually boils down to either kind of at its base an epigenetic conversation, genes expressing themselves differently, or a mitochondrial, metabolism type discussion. Or
Well, that's all part of it too, though. But that's all part of it. Just like also to have cancer is a fungus, but it's also a parasitical problem because you can't have cancer without parasites. It's also a bacterial problem. Do you understand? It's called a parasite party. And what first has to happen is you have to have enough negative frequencies to go in and disturb the mitochondria to make this happen. So you're right. You know what? Everybody's got their little theory, but guess what? They're all right. It takes a lot of dominoes, right, to make London Bridge fall down. Now, why do you eat fresh and raw? For the light. Why do you drink structured water? Because structured water holds more light. Why do we take in nutrition? Because of the light.
And when you say structured water, are we talking water that's gone through a vortexer, water that's gone through one of the alkalizing machines, water that
water
fresh
that goes
natural spring water?
Well, natural spring water, if the water was moving really quickly, because you can get structured water from the rain, waterfalls, and fast-moving rivers. That's where structured water comes from. So that's where we naturally get it. That's where our ancestors used to get it from. So with me, I just have what I use. Everybody can use different things. I use what's called a structure unit that doesn't have any moving parts, no electricity, no filters. Once you buy it, you never spend any money again, and you can structure everything in the world. So you structure all your drinks, and you can even breathe through it. Because you give me somebody that is totally, totally stressed out, having an anxiety attack, and if they breathe through a structured unit, that will structure the actual air. And within 3 breaths, you've realigned the brain. So, let's put it this way. When something happens, you only decide to be a drama queen for the length of time that you do, depending on the beliefs and the way that you are educated.
And what would you call someone who's broken through that faulty belief system?
Someone who's conscious and awake. And, people are going to say, I don't know what he's talking about. I'm conscious. No, there's people out there that have, but you will know, because when do you think about your breath? How often, Ryan, do you connect to your breath during the day? And know that you're breathing.
As often as my alarm goes off, reminding me to take a deep breath, which is 4 or 5 times a day.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at right now.
How would you like to live in the state of always being connected to your breath, or connected to your breath 90 to 95% of the day, not just having 2 to 3% joy? So that's the reality of wanting to learn how to do the Awaken program. And people are going to go, oh, it's just another program. My program's not just another program. There has not been another program like this. And did I make it up? No. I've learned from the best and taken from the best and then put it together and simplified it, just like my book. If it's simple, it's effective, and anybody can do this. And, anybody can learn to love themselves. And whether people want to believe it or not, people do not love themselves. Are people loving? Oh, my gosh. I know people that are so loving. But guess what? They're still sick. Because until you love and embrace yourself, you don't bring up your frequency. Your frequency only comes up every time you take love from somebody and they fill up your gas tank.
So I hate to bring it back down to the technical, but it's where my mind always goes. What are the, you said you do use some supplements and so forth, and they're based off the highest frequencies. What in your mind are the most frequency raising supplements, foods, whatever
Are you talking about are you talking about supplements, or you're talking about foods?
Two different things, I suppose. But yeah, why don't you tell us a little about both?
Well, first of all, I don't want to do any sales pitching here. We'll just talk about health in general. Right off the bat, when we talk about food, we want to make sure it's organic. And I tell my patients, if they can't get organic, to use a structured water unit and to spray their food, or to run water or structured water over it, because that will protect you. And
that's the other thing I was going to ask you. So when you say putting water into the structuring unit, you're not doing any filtering or anything first. It's just becoming structured, and somehow that, like, if you were to put, tap water with chlorine and fluoride and chemical, pharmaceuticals and all the rest into one of these structuring units, you're saying that's all you need in terms of protecting you from all the bad stuff?
I'm going to tell you that's all you need. If you want to do filtering prior to that, you can go ahead and do filtering. And I say, if you're going to feel better to filter it, filter it. But guess what? I don't care if you spent $10,000 on your water unit and you told me that it was the best filtering system going. If the water's not structured, then that means that you haven't reduced the surface tension. So who really cares? Because water's a food, and it takes a lot of energy to break water down into the proper singlet molecules that we need to get into our cells. And that's the whole ticket right there. And when you structure water, even if you got the best filtering system going, you can physically take all the compounds out, even have distilled water, reverse osmosis water, but you haven't got rid of the frequencies that were in there with the viruses and bacteria and all the drugs and chemicals and the fluoride and the chlorine. Those frequencies are still in there unless the water was structured.
Sounds like you need to get one of those structuring units.
Well, you know what? Yeah, and I'll make sure you get one. And then you can go on and you can tell me and be honest. You can say, well, it didn't work, but I will tell you something right off the bat. You'll know it that fast, because when you drink it, it will feel so light that it'd be like, where did that glass of water go? Listen, get the best filtered water, drink one glass of water, then take 32 ounces of structured water and tell me if 12 to 16 ounces sits heavier of filtered water than 32 ounces of structured water. And it will every time, because it's all about surface tension. You know what? It's not what goes in, it's what goes into the cells. Because if the water doesn't get into the cells, then you're not going to deliver the nutrition and get rid of the toxins. I'm not telling you that you can't filter your water and purify it. You can even do distilled water, reverse osmosis, which should never even be drank. Because that nature doesn't make it, then you shouldn't fake it, because it's not going to help you.
Well, wouldn't you, even if you did distilled or filter or reverse osmosis and then put it through the structure unit, wouldn't you want to add some of those minerals? Could you add the minerals back in? Right now, I mean, we're using reverse osmosis and we remineralize the water because that's, I don't know, that's what we felt best about. But way into the weeds here. Wouldn't you still want? You'd still want to add. So, would structuring the water decrease the need?
Okay,
for
right off the bat. Okay. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to return some minerals that nature had put in there in the first place.
Yeah, because you hear that water is more than H2O itself.
No. Don't worry about putting the minerals in. Nature's not going to be pissed off at you. Just eat a good diet. Where do you think you're getting your minerals from? Your fruits, your veggies, and all the other foods you eat, and from the supplementation. Do you actually think that putting the minerals in with the water, that it's going to help the water be absorbed into the cells and it's going to make a difference? Or do you think that structuring the water and having a lower surface tension is going to do the trick? I'm just trying to tell you, if you want to put minerals in there, do it. I'm not telling you it's not going to help. I'm just telling you it's not highly essential. What we need is a transport agent that can get to the dock. and load up the toxins and carry them away. So we want to have something that will be energetic. Okay, so this is something, and I know that will be a little bit hard for people to get, but if they go onto my website, they can start doing their homework. But if you drink your water, the reverse osmosis, okay, in energy that you would take to digest the amount of water that Ryan would need today in one day, I could run that same electricity for energy that you've utilized and run your house for probably 2 months electrically.
That's an interesting thought.
Well, do you know how hard it is to get the water to be broken down in the body? Why did our ancestors mainly drink rainwater, fast-moving rivers, and waterfalls? Because of the structuring. It was structured. All other water isn't. You got to have that. You want your slate clean. There's no frequencies in it. You want low surface tension.
So I guess I should have finished that thought too. What about those alkalizing machines? That was one of the sales pitches that we got when we got our water alkalizer, way back when, was that it was going to do some structuring of the water too, as well as
well, I don't believe that. I don't believe that it structures like this handheld, no electricity unit does. I'm going to tell you that I think it's probably a great unit. Well, look at, so I sell a unit that will produce more hydrogen than any other unit. It'll filter plus produce more hydrogen. My structure unit that doesn't take any electricity, it's called a natural actions unit, structure unit. We have them for the whole house. We have them for commercial, but right down to a shower head. That will structure water. And when you structure it there's no action required. The water goes through it. It'll release hydrogen. But I believe that hydrogen is the key. Hydrogen and structuring is the key to a healthy body. This whole alkalining thing, that was brought on by Kangen Water MLMers selling their $3,200 unit that is only worth maybe $200 or $300 off the boat. Okay. And then the whole alkaline thing, how many people come to my office and they're drinking 9.5 pH water and 9 pH water that's totally upsetting their stomach, which is acidic. So if you've got cancer and you're on your way out, then you better be drinking 9.5 pH water and doing everything you can. But now we're just trying to bail the water out of the sinking boat. But I tell people, they go, well, how important is it? And I say, look, I would rather see you have a more high hydrogen water and structured water. I don't even care if it's slightly acidic. That part doesn't matter. The whole alkaline thing is a sales pitch. And I've got my Doc of Detox radio show. Anybody who wants to come on, I'll bring them on and they can challenge me on this, because people need to have choices. And yes, is alkalining your body important? Absolutely. Are there ways to do it that are efficient? Absolutely. Buying this expensive alkalining unit? No. Eating alkalining foods. Listen, a lemon is going to alkaline you faster and better than your alkaline machine.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm about at now too. High frequency foods. High frequency foods. Got off there.
Hey, listen, high frequency foods, but before high frequency foods, high frequency people. From now on, remember that relative that you feel you got to call every week, but when you get off the phone, you're all depressed? Stop calling them. Start honoring yourself. So high frequency people, honoring yourself enough to not put yourself into a position that causes your frequency to lower. You know how many families believe that fighting is normal? Do you know that couples actually believe that fighting is normal? And most couples fight and they think it's normal. They don't even question it. Well, fighting is not normal. Fighting is normal in a dysfunctional relationship. Loving is normal.
So on that note, where does forgiveness tie into what you just said about staying away from people that are going to lower your vibration for whatever reason, your frequency? I mean, I guess that's something I go back and forth on. Is do I forgive people and just let them back in, so to speak, and just work on the forgiveness, or do I just eschew that feeling altogether and move on to something else? If that makes sense.
Okay, here we go. You got sold what I got sold. It's broken. Do you see? Anything that you have as a belief system that causes you frustration is a lie. First of all, why are you looking at the people and making them bad or good? That's your first problem, because now you're the judge. So if you want to judge someone and you want to make them bad, then guess what? You took the poison pill. So now you both get to go to jail. Now, how long are you going to leave them in jail for is how long you decided you're going to suffer with them. Because as long as you keep somebody in jail, you have to suffer with them. So there's the first thing. Second thing is, there's only such thing as good beliefs and bad beliefs. Now, that person who has a bad belief system is going to use that bad belief system on everybody they know. So what you did was you got too close to a belief system that you don't like. So stop going near that belief system, or let that person know, listen, we've had a relationship for years where we keep on conflicting. From now on, I want ours based from love. And if it can't be based from love, I have to discontinue it, because I talked to Dr. Wolfe and he said it was bad for my health. So off the bat, Ryan, you should never have to forgive them. I teach the first thing is, if you have to forgive them, then who are you? The judge and jury, and you think that you're better? I'm no better than the terrorist who wears the bomb. He goes home and he still loves his children. But do I like him for that? No. Do I hate him for that? No. I will not hate him for that. But he loves his family still, but his belief systems are not in line with mine at all. And I will not approve of them. But I'm not going to hang around with him. I'm not going to focus on him. So, see, what you're doing is that as long as your heart is empty, you're going to be playing tug of war here. You're going to be playing tug of war. And as long as you have to forgive people, then that means that you were the judge of them. And I already told you, bring it back. They're good people. Listen, people that, okay. Just because somebody does something that society doesn't like doesn't make them a bad person. They have a bad belief system. But society doesn't give a crap. Society doesn't want to go and help this person understand that they have a bad belief system. Listen, do you love your parents, Ryan?
Yes.
Did they dishonor you and do things to you when you were growing up that you did not like?
Yeah, here and there, I suppose.
Yeah, I expected you would be light on that one. Okay, so nobody wants to come out and say it, because now we're making a judgment. No, we're not. Your parents loved you 100%, even when they were spanking you. Not that they did. Even when they hit you and they were in the wrong for hitting you, they believed that they were doing their best. So guess what, Ryan? You'll be the guy to end the family curse, because you'll put a mini you on your shoulder. Maybe you'll even come and maybe you'll go online and take my Braveheart course, or come and take my whole life coaching course. Because for people like you that do nonprofit and are dealing with things like cancer, we give it for free. We give it for free to all nonprofits. So maybe you'll take these courses, and then you will then stop the family curse, and then you'll teach your son that if he fills his heart up with love, he will honor, respect, and protect himself. He won't he won't look for love, and then he maybe won't become an alcoholic or a drug addict, or go out and get a girlfriend that totally dishonors herself that'll match his beliefs so that he can dishonor himself and have a reason with his dysfunctional girlfriend why he's dysfunctional and it's not his fault.
Sounds like I need to figure out how to get up there.
I'm just telling you, do you know another guy that's going to say, I'll give you a money back guarantee that in 33 days we'll do more than your whole life has done? And it's not because we have the secret. It's because it's all about beliefs. You know what? You actually think you're in control. You actually think that you own all the beliefs and all the thoughts in your head are yours. You've never stopped to think about that. That's why when you pray, when you meditate, you have thoughts that come in that you don't like. Well, you don't own those thoughts. But when people have a thought in their head because they watch the news or they listen to some story and it's a dirty thought or an evil thought, right away they think just because it got in their head, they must own it. Oh, I'm so dirty. I'm so evil. You know, all the self-loathing starts. Listen to me. I'm amazing. I stay in love with myself so that I don't hurt my family. I do not hurt my family. You tell me how many people you know never cause hurt for their family and never play love games, never hold things ransom, never make their family feel guilty. That's how I live.
So you mentioned, you talked about belief systems, and you talked about children, and immediately my mind went to everything I'm trying to do for my son. Have you put much thought into? I mean, what am I trying to say? I'm always looking for how I can best help my son, and I'm sure everyone is looking for how they can best help their child, especially their child who's going through cancer. And it's always kind of tough for me to think about the fact that my son hasn't necessarily had years and years and years of bad belief systems that led him to where he is today. It's something different. What exactly, I don't know. I hope maybe I'll figure it out someday. But
well, you may not. But the one thing that you do that I think about when I think about your situation, somewhere, somehow. And you know what? I could be totally wrong. I'm not trying to make this into a light, airy, fairy thing. But you and your son and your wife made an agreement. You were going to come together and you're going to make this thing happen and do something miraculous that you can show. Well, look at right now. You've got a show. You wouldn't be on here with me if it wasn't for your son having cancer. So let's say thank you, cancer. And let's say thank you, son, for being so brave to take that on to help Ryan grow. So now, Ryan, it's your turn to grow and go back and show your son how he can totally love himself and heal himself in a New York second. You can give him all the supplements you want, but you show him a daddy that totally loves, respects, and honors himself. His light will be so bright. Your son is just looking up to you right now and going, Daddy, show me the way because I've showed you the way.
So I suppose I was looking for some silly tip or trick to cultivate a good belief system in my son, and of course you brought it to a deeper place. What do you do to cultivate belief systems in your children above and beyond leading by example, or is leading by example enough?
Leading by example is enough, but the thing is we always talk about things, and even when my one of my kids decides to write off one of the cars or do something, just whatever it may be, I don't lose it. I will never lose it because it is a game, Ryan, and I will succeed at this game. I told my kids a long time ago, I said, you are forgiven for everything that you've ever done or anything you've ever going to do. There will be no punishment. And when you do something, we will sit down and we'll talk about what you learned from that, whether you're going to do it again, and talk about whether or not that's putting anybody else into jeopardy. Because, no matter what you want for your son, Ryan, he's going to make the same mistakes that you did, because guess what? It's part of the adventure. And it's just like this. You ever notice how people go, every time you leave, I miss you so much. Or, every time you go out, I worry about you. That's really dysfunctional. Okay. That's really dysfunctional. That's a really dysfunctional person, and probably a very dysfunctional family. The faith. Everybody talks about faith. Well, you got to have faith in yourself first, right? And I know people that have faith in their religion, but they have no faith in their own healing power. They have no faith in loving themselves or their family. So you know what? Your creator created you, and he said, now I've given you everything, so you are everything, so be everything.
It's a tall order.
Well, you know what? Just enjoy yourself. Smile. Stay connected to your breath, right? And just know that your son was sent here to wake you up.
Yeah, I think that's something good for everyone going through our situation, specifically childhood cancer, to keep in mind.
Listen, every family has their tests. Everybody has tests. And you know what? You can either destroy your own health over it and destroy your relationships and be guilty because you don't have all the answers, or you can breathe and smile and be the light. And that's where, and please, this is not a pitch, but that's where doing the 33-day Awaken program in my Braveheart comes in. Because, listen, the only time you've ever gotten good at anything, Ryan, is when you repeated it. Every rhyme you've ever learned, every song you ever knew, how you learned to tie your shoes, how you got on this radio show, how you know how to speak English. Listen to me. If you're not willing to repeat and to learn how to practice loving yourself and to becoming everything, then you will end up feeling like nothing.
So when you bring up repetition, I agree with you. What are your thoughts on what is it, energy psychology, all these different programs that supposedly you can rewire your brain in a matter of seconds or minutes and change your whole belief structure and so on and so forth?
Yeah, just add water and stir. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I thought you might say something like that. That might be a good place to...
Ryan, on this last note, if that was true, Ryan, then that means that every thought you think, you would be able to make changes that fast. Well, guess what? There's a lot of people out there that say to their wife or their husband, I wish you were dead. That wouldn't be good. There's a lot of people that wish they died. That wouldn't be good. So things take a little bit longer than that. And you know what? It's been proven that it takes 30 to 33 days, all right, to just get the mind to accept a new thought if you know how to do the repetition properly. And then to actually become the real you, it takes the same length of time as it does to birth a baby. Isn't that logical? 9 months. So within 33 days, you'll grasp the idea that, yes, I can be the master of my life. And within 9 months, you will morph into the real you. Because guess what? You've given up all the beliefs that were shoved down your throat from the time you got here. Let's not bend the rules. Let's break them.
I like that. I like that a lot. If you had to take everything you know, and distill it down into 3 golden rules on how to stay healthy and happy, what would those 3 rules be?
Smile. Stay connected to your breath. And remember what created you.
It's very good. Very good. Any final thought you would like to impart to anyone going through cancer for themselves or close caregivers of a loved one that you'd like to leave everyone with?
Well, and this is the first thing that I can do for you, and just understand this. You're not going to get help out there. And you're alone, and you feel alone. And everybody's giving you advice, but it's not working. And that's because you have to go inside yourself, and you need to honor yourself. All you caregivers out there, it's a hard job. Make sure you don't feel guilty when you feel like you don't want to be the caregiver anymore. It's okay to feel that way. It's a hell of a job. Just love yourself, and when you feel like that, that's only because you're not giving yourself any time off and you're not loving yourself. When you feel guilty about being a caregiver, it's because you've made yourself a slave. And you need to honor, respect, and love yourself and give yourself something. You need to be good to yourself. Anybody with cancer out there, get off the beaten path. Even the beaten path of natural health, get off that too. Remember something. You have the power to heal, but it's inside yourself. You have to unleash it. The natural health system means well, but it can drain you of all your money, all your energy, if you don't honor yourself. Now, on saying that, if it's okay, Ryan, I have a 2-hour tape audio, and it's called Get Emotionally Fit. It's $45, but if any of your people want it and they go to my website, do you mind if I say this?
Please go ahead.
Okay, if they go to my website at www.docofdetox.com/emotionally fit -for-life. So www.docofdetox.com/emotionally fit -for, like FOR -life. And if you will get that for free. Go ahead, listen to it. And then if you want to take it to the next step, then I'm here for you. But just understand something. Did you ever notice something? When people get cancer in the family, everybody goes into fear. They go into fear because they've never looked after themselves physically, and they go into fear because they are emotionally crippled. And that's the way that we are made through corporations, media, and also, please don't get me wrong, but most natural health practitioners out there don't love themselves to begin with. They sell nutritional supplements, and I'm not downing them, but at the end of the day, this is all about the person at home that's not a practitioner, the person at home that has someone sick or they're sick themselves. So I'm not downing the natural health practitioners out there. I'm telling people that they don't have to suffer, and if they think someone's going to come and save them, they're not. You have to be the hero of your own story. And that's going to be the bottom line. So don't fall for everybody's story of success, because you are the hero here. That's it, Ryan.
Yeah, nobody's going to do it for you. That's certainly one thing I've learned throughout all this.
Think about it. All the research you've done, all the brilliant minds you know, and guess what? Who is the one that's getting your son well? Who's the one that did it? And with all the things that you've learned from all these people, I mean, really, when we really wean it down and filter it out, there was only a few gold nuggets in there. Anybody can write a book. Anybody can open their mouth, but offer a money-back guarantee. Let me see clinics start to do that. Let me see naturopaths start to do that. I offer a money-back guarantee on all my treatments, all my services. Why?
That's quite a novel concept, and I suppose it's because you know it's going to work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I certainly would like to see more people offer that. That'd be something.
Well, listen, how many people do you know that you know even personally that are out there touting things and they're giving all these success stories? I'm not going to give one success story. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, and let's get to work.
I like it a lot. Is there anywhere else you'd like to direct people to
Sure.
all things Dr. Wolfe?
Go to ITIOH.com, which stands for International Training Institute of Health. And that's where I have all my courses, certifications, trainings. We have one that's called couples training, and that's where we actually help couples to understand themselves and their affairs. We have another one that's called personal one-on-one training, where people come and they learn how to do the deep tissue on each other. Couples will learn how to do that and to emotionally, physically, and nutritionally help each other. So they become each other's practitioners instead of waiting until the next treatment. So that's the big deal. And then, anyways, people can go on there. And then we have our Braveheart online course. We have our whole life coach certification there. And then also our Healthy to 100 community is opening up no later than April the 15th. And we hope that will be the world's most powerful self-healing community, and it's free. There'll be videos and trainings and chat groups and everything. And that's about it.
Well, if you open it on April 15th, the same day taxes are due down here, that would I could use some of that self-healing that day. So I hope you do.
That's when it's opening, and we're going to have people like yourself. We'll put every one of your radio shows right up there so people can get it. So it's going to become more like a library of hope, a library of faith, a library of taking personal action. Okay. And the things that are going to be on there are going to be free.
I can't wait to see it.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you for coming on, Darrell. It's been a treat. I've been looking forward to getting to pick your brain like this for a while. It's been great.
Well, thank you, Ryan. You may not know this, but you're dear to my heart, and it's people like you that make the true difference. Thank you.
Guess we'll keep on doing it together. All right, stick around with me for 1 second, but thanks so much, Dr. Wolfe.
Thank you, Ryan. All my best. Bye now.
Pretty deep, wasn't it? Dr. Wolfe certainly made me think a little further outside of what I would consider to be my health wheelhouse, and I hope he did just the same for you. Just to hammer a couple of those points home. Long-term sick patients are more than likely the ones that are focused on their sickness and not creating a different reality for themselves. Your belief systems are going to make you or break you. It's not your fault you got them in the first place, but it is on you to change anything that isn't doing you good. Just something to keep in mind there. Also, I really liked what he said about how well you're able to really stick to any health routine and protocol is directly proportional to the amount of love you have for yourself and how much you think you deserve it. That really hit home for me. For any of you who have followed us for any amount of time, you know we're really big on having a set schedule to keep yourself on point, but just having the schedule still isn't going to give you that inner drive to stick to it, and that's where this drive ultimately comes from. And it can sound a little woo-woo when I hear some people talk about raising your frequency and so on. And frankly, I think a lot of people do take advantage of using that terminology without really having a clue of what they're talking about. But at the end of the day, this is a really very real thing that's been proven out. It's not some abstract theory that some hippie came up with. When you break all of this down far enough, it really does get down to energy and frequency and like attracting like. And if nothing else, it's not a bad thing to really take a hard look at what you're thinking, the people you're surrounding yourselves with, the food and supplements you're putting into your body, and even the energy medicine you might be using, and asking yourself if this is something that might raise you up or hold you down. And most near and dear to my heart, he said it at the very end there, but I'm going to say it again. Caregivers, don't beat yourself up for not having all the answers or just getting plain tired. You're doing the best you can. Be sure to give yourself a chance to recharge and just keep going. I really hope you got some great information out of this episode with the Doc of Detox, Dr. Darrell Wolfe. If you did, be sure to share it out so all of your friends can get the same healing info at mykidcurescancer.com/Darrell-Wolfe. And Darrell is spelled with 2 R's and 2 L's, and Wolfe is spelled with an E on the end, so that's WOLFE. That's also where you can get the show notes for this episode, along with all the links to any resources that were brought up during the interview. I've since gone out and gotten the Natural Action Structured Water Unit he was talking about, and it is indeed awesome. It's super handy and easy to use, and you definitely can feel something different is going on with the water that comes out of that thing. Now, whenever I drink unstructured water, the first word that comes to mind is heavy, for whatever that's worth. We've got that linked up in the show notes, and should have it up permanently in the What We Use tab at mykidcurescancer.com within the next couple days. Again, speaking of the website, if you are getting value of everything we do there and the Facebook page and this show and so on, I would ask that you prayerfully consider whether supporting our work by buying us that figurative snack bar every month is something that you would like to do. I'd love to hear what you thought about the show. Let us know in the comments, again, at mykidcurescancer.com/Darrell-Wolfe or on the My Kid Cancer Facebook page. Lord willing, we'll see you back next week with the breast cancer conqueror herself, Dr. Veronique Tessonnier, for real this time, where we'll be diving into her 7 essentials to healing breast cancer naturally. And I point out in the interview that these are really essentials for anyone going through cancer, and we'll also be busting some of the most common breast cancer myths. So make sure you check that one out. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. As always, I'm honored to be bringing you this information. And if you or a loved one is going through cancer right now, just keep going. This is Ryan Sternagel signing off for now. God bless. Godspeed.